Welcome to Outnumbered on this beautiful 12th day of June 2024. It is Democracy Day, and of course, we are here to bring you to speed with the headlines for the day. I want to start by saying Happy Democracy Day, but then Nigerians are still trying to come to terms with the fact that it is still government of the people, for the people, and by the people. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and I have Antonia and Michael right here on this wonderful Democracy Day to talk about the headlines. Good morning.
Good morning, Ramsey. Good morning,
Good
Michael.
morning. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Ramsey.
Quickly, Daily Trust newspaper. Jonathan, that's the kicker. National Assembly should consider best model of government for Nigeria. Details read on page 11. Truth under fire, that's the kicker. The multi-front assault on facts during the 2023 Nigerian election. A lot of people are still trying to believe what really happened in 2023. Some felt they were robbed of their mandate, and others are saying, well, the will of the people actually prevailed. But then the truth is right there, staring at everyone. A minister seeks probe of PAMSEC over alleged sexual harassment. One writer to that story, she wants to destroy man of integrity. Okay, that's on the Daily Trust newspaper. You can pick a copy to actually go through that story if you are interested in it. Then the big story says that Tinubu may reshuffle cabinet, create new ministry. The last time I checked, I think Tinubu was saying ministers will actually be checked and assessed to see who is actually performing, and anyone underperforming may be asked out of office. Now we are hearing that the may reshuffle cabinet, and just to write us to that story, some ministers to go. Then the second rider says I will send bill on minimum wage to National Assembly soon. Coming from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Details read on pages 4 and 6 of the paper. That's the Daily Trust newspaper. And of course, that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning as we move to the next paper.
All right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. The first headline will be taken. The kicker says, hope betrayed at 31. Citizens in dire straits, still in search of democratic ideals, dividends. The details of that is on page 6. And then we'll have the picture story, having June 12 at 31, renewed hope, democracy at 25. Moving away from that, I understand our economic difficulties. You don't. Atiku and others tell Tinubu. The details of that you can find on page 6. Labour rules out timeline for new minimum wage. Expects 6 figures. The talks on concerning the new minimum wage is still on, and you can get the details of that on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Away from that, cancel autonomy. Afenifere says Tinubu playing to the gallery suits diversionary, hypocritical. That you can get on page 7. Truth under fire. The multi-front assault on facts during the 2023 general election. That's on news analysis page 4. Away from that, Nigeria's debt servicing gobs $2.2 billion in 5 months. That you can find on business page 21. Federal government needs 15 trillion naira to execute 260 road projects, says Umahi. Kaduna pardons 110 convicts to mark Democracy Day. That's the news page 9, and that will be the size of the headlines from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Antonio. Straight to the Daily Times newspaper. Today in Happy Democracy Day in Nigeria, the kicker says Oweleketv Day. EFCC received 14,000 petitions in 1 year. You can get that full story on page 6 of the Daily Times. The big story, Democracy Day is the kicker. Security agencies mobilize officers against threat of mass protest. Details read on page 4. PAMSEC under heat over allegations of sexual harassment in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Details on page 14. Niger State moves against domestic violence within 3-year jail term. Details on page 2. Crude oil production such boosts Nigerian earnings to 15.4 trillion naira. Details read on page 17. Senate passes NDDC's 1.9 trillion 2024 budget despite lapses. Details read on page 18. NCO NCOS denies illegally detaining Army General. NCOs denies illegally detaining Army General. Details read on page 15. 2024 supplementary budget to be financed by Presidential Infrastructure Fund. That's coming from the minister. Details read on page 16. That's all. That's the size of the package on Daily Times. Over to you, Ramsey.
Thank you very much, Michael, for those headlines. Let's quickly look at the Nation's newspaper from the Nation's newspaper this morning. Above the header, witness Emefiele ignore Buhari's approval of Naira printing. Approval in Naira printing, I beg your pardon. Witness Emefiele ignore Buhari's approval in Naira printing. And this one says that DSS warns protesters with sinister motive. Please, I won't write into that story. Please, don't breach the peace. Okay, then to the big story. But before the big story, there is a story on top of the big story, which says a National Research Fund, Varsities Multipurpose Labs, gets 13 billion naira. Details read on page 2 of the Nation's newspaper. Ongoing reforms will lead to stronger economy, says Tinubu. That's the big story. Ongoing reforms will lead to stronger economy, says Tinubu. Well, this is Democracy Day, and of course, sometimes we will be forced to look at the dividends of democracy that Nigerians may have enjoyed so far since democracy came on board. As a matter of fact, I think some Nigerians, if you ask them today, what have you enjoyed from democracy? They'll tell you, well, this is not what we were expecting. Even though a lot of people will come with different opinions and how they feel about democracy, not just this regime, we're talking about since the inception of democracy in Nigeria. Then to write us to that story, let's keep fire of democracy burning. Okay? All right. This one says lawmakers to get a bid on agreed minimum wage. That's the second rider to that story. And of course, that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Nation's newspaper this morning. We want to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll talk to you more about something very, very significant, something very, very important, something very interesting to you. So what you just have to do is to stay very, very close to the screen, because we will be talking about Tinubu saying he may reshuffle his cabinet and create more ministries, or maybe probably a ministry. We will be back. Welcome back from that break. It is still outnumbered, and this is the big story. We are reaching you live and direct from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. Well, it will interest you also to know that Eagle Square is wearing a good look right now, as the Democracy Day celebration is about taking off. And as it is right now, we just want to talk about the fact that it appeared on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning that Tinubu may reshuffle cabinet and create new ministry. Let's look at it. This is Democracy Day. And of course, this one is coming up, meaning the president is looking at what the ministers are doing, who is performing and who is not performing. Meaning, some persons may be asking, what is the criteria that will be used in measuring this? But then the president brought them there, and he has an agenda. And he is the one that knows the kind of support he needs from each of the ministers to perform very well. So asking some of the ministers and creating a ministry, I don't know how Nigerians will feel about it, because if you ask Nigerians now, what everyone is clamoring for is what to put in their mouth. But as it is right now, I think it's a good one. For me, it's a good one. Reshuffling the cabinet. Reshuffling means maybe taking out some people, bringing some people, taking some people from somewhere, taking them to somewhere else, and all of that. But then on this Democracy Day, this one is coming up, creating a new ministry and reshuffling, or maybe asking some ministers to go and replacing them with other persons. Because remember what he told us when he was coming into office, that he's going to work with technocrats, experts, and all of that, working across the board, you know, irrespective of party or affiliations and all of that. So what do you think about him coming out now to say he's going to reshuffle these people? Were they not properly screened, or their strength was not measured before they came into office? Yeah, so many questions, yeah?
Yeah, I know on the mind of Nigerians will have so many questions to ask. But there's something about when you're in a leadership position, there's accountability. So if the president is coming out to probe what the ministers have been doing so far, to say, in the last 1 year, how have you performed? And, oh, you're not doing well in this area, let's move to this area, leave this ministry, or bring in new persons. This goes to show that, yes, even though the current realities are not very, very favorable to Nigerians, we're seeing that the president is trying to make moves to see that the country becomes better. Because in a true democracy, there's there's equality, there's free and fair elections, there's accountability and transparency of government officials, there's citizen participation. So not just the president probing these ministers, citizens can also give their voice. As we celebrate democracy, they give their voice to different share their opinion. Public opinion is also accepted in democracy. Yeah. Share their opinion on what is happening in the country and how things can be better. So I don't think the president's reshuffling or scrutinizing the ministers is out of place.
Okay, it's not out of place, but then let me ask you now, Michael, you know, so many persons were saying, hey, come on, especially people from APC. They will tell you, hey, 1 year is just too small for you to assess the president. 1 year is too small. Now the ministers want to be assessed under 1 year, and some will be axed out as the case may be, and some will be reshuffled, and the ministry will be created. Do you think this is too early for the president to do?
It's not, because according to as is stipulated in Minister's Statutory Powers and Duties Act, a minister has a duty to serve as an advisory body to the president. That is the sole function of a minister, you know. But then, from the inception of his 1 year administration, Nigerians lamented over the over-bloated cabinet that Tinubu came with, 48 to be precise, and the cry was there. They hinted on the point of underperformance being a major issue. When you have too many people there will be underperformance. How do you checkmate over-bloated number of ministers? He went ahead. We only had an issue where the humanitarian poverty alleviation minister was suspended. That's Betta Edu, and Simon Lalong taking up a ministerial seat. The two ministers that were out, that means 46 have been there. And then underperformance has been a major cause Nigerians lamented about, because advisory body, what are the prerequisites to you becoming a minister? Do you have that knowledge to actually advise the president? And was there favoritism during their appointment when these ministers were being appointed? We saw a preponderance of people coming from people that had relationship in the past with the president being given ministerial seats. As we will say, favoritism was a major thing that I saw personally. Journalists cried about that. These names that were saying coming from Tinubu as ministers, have we known them before? Have they had offices? What are the antecedent records that brings them into that office? That was very questionable. It was very equivocal that these people did not come into that. And then we witnessed underperformance, because poverty we talked about, okay, she's been suspended. And I think Tinubu is about to appoint someone to take that particular humanitarian poverty alleviation seat.
Which is, that office is very, very vital,
yeah.
As far as Nigerians are concerned.
And then the creation of livestock, joining the Ministry of Agriculture, that is to settle.
That is joining an already overbloated
thing.
Yeah.
I think it is a move to settle the farmers' headaches and collision that has also mitigated against food production, security of life and property. Is a good move, but then that's adding to the number of ministers. A good move, but then overbloatedness is still there. We're still going to have like 49, 50.
Is that
something
not going to be like a form of duplication? Because Ministry of Agriculture is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, sometime last week, there was a bill that was sponsored concerning farmers open grazing.
Open grazing, yeah.
And then the northern senators kicked against it that anyone can live anywhere in Nigeria. I feel this should be under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Agriculture. This is something that they ought to see to the latter. Yeah, creating livestock differently just to settle that ranching, the idea of ranching, open grazing,
the collision between herders and farmers.
Yeah,
but then that's
you know something. When you say when I saw that, I was thinking about it when they said anyone can live anywhere. Then I was thinking, when did cattle become human beings?
That's why
cattle can live anywhere.
That's why
some of these senators, I don't really know what they're after. But then I think this is going to be the size of the review for this morning and the big story. I wanted asking Michael a question when he was talking about Tinubu and all of that. But then I think we'll talk more about that because of our time. That will be later. If you still want to know what's going on as far as Democracy Day is concerned and every other details, information, education, and news that you need, just stay on the channel, okay? Subscribe to the YouTube channel Oweleketv and also turn on the notification button so you will be the first to get notified when vital informations are dropping on the channel. This is a beautiful day. Make sure you do something to make Nigeria great, and also remember that life is more like an examination. Stop copying other people or else you will fail because everyone have a different question paper. Have a wonderful Democracy Day celebration. Bye-bye for now.